Pesachim Daf Nun Gimel. Today's email comes from Sam G from Maryland. I'm going to skip here because we have a very long daf, but he says, you are also entertaining, and I find myself laughing out loud at your banter with the guys in the room and on Zoom. Now I know why Rabbi would open up each year with a joke. Goes on and on. Sam G from Silver Spring, Maryland. Thank you, Sam. Yesterday we were discussing Biur Perei Shemitah, and that is, if there are no longer any fruit of that particular species in the field, then you must be mevarer that fruit from your house. So let's say there are no more apples on the apple trees outside. You take the apples out of your house, either you destroy them or you mafkir them. The Gemara gives us a list of different fruit that go by different places. For instance, grapes go by the place called Eichel. When there are no more grapes in Eichel, that means take the grapes out of your house. Or, if there are grapes somewhere else, you could rely on those grapes. Olives go by a place called Tekaya. Rabbi Eliezer says by a place called Gush Cholav. And that is, if a poor person comes along and he's searching for olives and he can't even find a Reva Akav, which is approximately 6 eggs worth, take it out of your house. Dried figs, to a place called Beisini. Rabbi Yehuda argues, he says, no, Beisini is only in regard that there's a chiyuv meiser on those figs, but not for Shemitah. Dates, there's a place called Tsoyar. They have a lot of dates. That's on the bottom of Eretz Yisrael. Even dates that are trapped in the thorns are considered dates on the tree. Rav Shimon argues, he says if they're trapped in the thorns, animals can't get to them, they're not considered dates on the tree. The problem is that the Braisa, rather than giving us a name of a place, gives us a time. Grapes until Pesach, olives until Shavuos, dried figs till Chanukah, and dates till Purim. And Rabbi Yochanan flips it around, dates until Chanukah, dried figs till Purim. Regardless, it's not based on a place, it's based on a time. So the Gemara says either the time and the place are identical. In other words, let's say, for instance, Pesach and the place called Eichel. Eichel no longer has grapes by Pesach. Or it's one or the other. Whatever is later, you can rely on that. Rav Shimon gives us a simon for each place, for a mountain, for a valley, for the plains. I think Gemara says each simon is to tell us that if you're selling a mountain, you're selling a valley, it has to have one of these things. So, he says the simon for a mountain are gallnuts. So if you don't have gallnuts and you sold a mountain without a gallnut tree, it's not a good sale. And when it comes to the valley, it has to have palm trees. Or the pshat is, we know that bikurim, to give the first of the fruit, is only from the shivas haminim. Not only that, the shivas haminim have to show the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. And if you have a palm tree on a mountain, it doesn't grow well. You don't give bikurim from such a tree. It has to be growing in the valley. And when it comes to wheat and barley, it's the exact opposite. Wheat and barley that grow in the valley, they're not very good because they get saturated with water and they get ruined. So you don't give bikurim from that. If you're selling a stream, it has to have reeds, or it's going for egla arufa. You find a body, you bring a cow, you chop the head. There must be reeds there. And on the plains, they must have sycamore trees. Otherwise, it's not a good sale. And that's the end of the simanim. The Mishnah tells us we're continuing with minhagi hamakar. What are you allowed to sell in terms of animals to a non-Jew? You're allowed to sell a goat and a sheep if that's your minhag in your place. But according to everybody, you cannot sell a larger animal like a cow, horse. Not only that, you can't sell a small cow, a calf. You can't sell a small donkey. You can't sell a broken cow. In other words, a balmum. Rabbi Yehuda says a balmum you could sell, and Ben Betzerer says you could sell a horse. Now there's a very interesting minhag, and that applies to today, and that is some people are not to eat anything roasted when it comes to meat or even chicken. The Mishnah Berurah says at the Leila Seder because it resembles the Korban Pesach. It seems like you're eating kachim outside of the Beis Hamikdash. What's amazing is that Rav says that if a person says basar ze Pesach, lip Pesach, with a lamed, this should be for Pesach. It could be confused that you're trying to make a Korban Pesach, and even in today's day and age, you're not allowed to say those words. Let's buy some meat from the store for Pesach is asr. And as a matter of fact, the Bach says that if you say so, the meat is asr b'hana b'zman hazeh. When it comes to wheat, you could say that lashon. What people do, and I heard in England, they say basar ze al Pesach. So even in the hechsher, it doesn't say kosher le Pesach, it says kosher al Pesach. Wheat, you could say le Pesach because people understand you're trying to keep it for Pesach, until Pesach. According to everybody, you're not allowed to roast a goat mikulas. Mikulas means with the innards, the kishkas, on the outside like they did for the Korban Pesach, because that's exactly how they did Korban Pesach. Even if you don't say anything, you don't say the word Pesach, it's asr. However, if you just roast a regular goat with the innards, not on the outside of it, it depends. If you say specifically this is for Pesach, it's asr. If you don't say so, then it depends on the minhag hamakar. The Gemara tells us Toidas, who was a chashuv person, he instituted in Rome that people should make a goat mikulas. And Chacham said, if you weren't Toidos, as we're going to see, as a Talmud Chacham, we would put you in Cherim. How do we know he's a Talmud Chacham? The Gemara says, because he made a whole Kavachomer. He said, how did Mishol, Hanani, and Azariah know to throw themselves in the Kibshan Aish of Nebuchadnezzar, to give themselves up on Kiddush Hashem? You know, Daniel ran away. Why didn't they run away? He made a Kavachomer from the Tzfardim, from the frogs that we have in this week's Parsha. The frogs didn't have to jump into the ovens. They could have gone into the beds. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't say, you go into the oven. And they chose, some of them, to jump into the oven. Therefore, Hanani, Mishal, and Azariah said, let's do that as well. We're Mitzvah and Kiddush Hashem, let's be Mekadosh Hashem. The Baal HaTurim brings that the frogs that jumped into the oven, they were actually saved. They were the only frogs that got to live because they were Mekadosh Shem Shemai. Or, the Gemara tells us that Toidos, he supported Talmid Chachamim, and somebody that supports Talmid Chachamim, Zoicha v'Yoshev v'Yeshiva Shalmala, he'll be Zoicha to sit up there in the highest of the high. Says the Mishnah that everybody has the minhag hamakom when it comes to a candle on Yom Kippur. If you light a candle on Yom Kippur, you can light it at home. If not, your minhag is not to, you don't. But everybody agrees that you light in a shul, in a beis medrash, in a dark alley, and above the sick. The Gemara tells us, Va'amich kulim tzadikim. The mandama that says you light a candle at home, and the mandama that says you don't light a candle at home, they're both saying the same exact thing. Is to prevent the isser with one's wife. Some say it's better with a candle, some say it's better without a candle, but it's for the same idea. Shmuel says you don't make a bracha, Bar Me'ir Eish, on Matzah Yom Kippur, because we say Bar Me'ir Eish on Matzah Shabbos, that's when fire was created. And there was a Zaken, an elder, who agreed to this. And usually Taisa says the elder is referring to Eliyahu Navi, and he also said, this elder, that Rabbi Yochanan also agreed to this. Now, the Gemara tells us a story. Ula was on a donkey. To the right of him, he had Reb Abba. To the left of him, he had Rabbi Chana. And Reb Abba says to both of them, to Ula and Rabbi Chana, is it true that you said that in the name of Rabbi Yochanan? And Ula was very upset. He turned to Rabbi Chana. He said, are you the one? Like, he didn't say it, but he looked at him in anger. And Rabbi Chana said, no, I never said that. What I said is, I heard that they said in front of Rabbi Yochanan that according to everybody, you light a candle for Shabbos on Yom Kippur, L'Kavod Shabbos. And Rabbi Yochanan says, but Chacham say it's also. And Ula said, okay, if that's the case, I agree with you. Have a wonderful day.